Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. I am Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and here are this morning's headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarks on a three-nation visit, says the tour will boost trade, security ties, will reach Portuguese capital Lisbon for the first leg of visit. Enforcement Directorate books Hafiz Saeed and members of Hurriyat and Hizbul Mujahideen for money laundering to probe Hawala links for funding separatist and terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir. India and Russia signed protocol to step up a defence engagement, cooperation in the field of political and military dialogue, besides exercises between the countries' armed forces. Financial watchdog FATF slams Pakistan on terror financing. At its meeting in Spain's Valencia, the organisation says Pakistan had failed to act against the financing of groups like the Lashkar. And over 24 people killed in multiple blasts in Pakistan on the last Friday of Ramadan. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif calls for increased security across the country. The top story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today early morning embarked on a three-nation tour. During his four-nation trip, Prime Minister Modi will visit Portugal, the United States and the Netherlands. The Prime Minister will meet the leadership of these countries with a focus to discuss strategic cooperation. He will first visit Portugal, where he will hold talks with his Portuguese counterpart, Antonio Costa, in Lisbon. On 25th of June, Prime Minister Modi will reach the United States, where he will address the members of the Indian community in Washington. Prime Minister Modi is also scheduled to hold talks with President Donald Trump on a wide range of issues, including setting priorities and consolidating gains in the bilateral ties. Now, this will be his first trip to the United States after President Donald Trump came to power on 20th of January this year. On the last leg of his tour, Prime Minister Modi will visit the Netherlands on 27th of June. The visit will mark the celebration of 70 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and the Netherlands. On to some other news, the NDA's presidential candidate Ram Nath Kovind filed his nomination papers on Friday in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, in a show of might by the NDA, a battery of leaders, including chief ministers of NDA-ruled states and the party chiefs of all the alliance partners, were present.
NDA nominee Ram Nath Kovind filed his nomination papers for the post of the president on Friday. He was accompanied by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP Chief Minister Amit Shah and party veterans who included L.K. Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi. Many NDA Chief Ministers along with Telangana CM K. Chandrasekhar Rao and Tamil Nadu's E.K. Palaniswamy were also in attendance. Kovind handed his papers to Lok Sabha Secretary General Anup Mishra, who is the returning officer for this year's presidential elections on July 17th. 3 sets of nomination papers were filed. The first had Prime Minister Narendra Modi as proposer and Home Minister Rajnath Singh as seconder. The second had Amit Shah as proposer and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley as seconder. And the third had Shiromani Akali Dal Chief Prakash Singh Badal as proposer and Chandrababu Naidu as seconder. Each set of papers had 60 proposers and 60 seconders. It will be a Dalit versus Dalit contest for the 15th President of India. After 17 opposition parties on Thursday announced former Lok Sabha Speaker and Congress veteran Meera Kumar as their joint candidate. Votes will be counted on July 20th after the polling on July 17th. With inputs from Vishal Daya, Pranav Goswami and Navvikram Singh, Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And NDA's presidential nominee Ram Nath Kovind asserted on Friday that the post of president is above party politics. He also vowed to maintain the dignity of the highest office in the country.
After filing his nomination papers, NDA's presidential candidate Ram Nath Kovind said his political affiliation ended the day he assumed office of Bihar governor. However, he did express gratitude to everyone supporting his candidature.
सभी को विश्वास दिलाता हूँ कि मैं सर्वोच्च पद की गरिमा को बनाए रखने के लिए हर संभव प्रयास करूँगा। राष्ट्रपति पद के सभी मतदाता मंडल के सदस्यों से भी मैं सहयोग की अपील करता हूँ।
Referring to national security, Kovind said the president is also the supreme commander of all three forces. So the responsibility to keep India's borders secure is of paramount importance.
देश का राष्ट्रपति तीनों सेनाओं का सुप्रीम कमांडर भी होता है। देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा करना भी हम सबकी प्राथमिकता होती है।
Besides the NDA's constituents, which comprise over 48.6% of the votes in the Electoral College, Kovind has also gained the support of non-NDA parties like the AIADMK, both Shashikala and Paneer Selvam factions, the TRS, BJD and JDU. Kovind is now estimated to have 62% of the votes in the Electoral College. If elected, Kovind will be the second Dalit to hold the post after K.R. Narayanan, who served as the President of India from 1997 to 2002. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the opposition has said that it will contest the 17th of July presidential election on the basis of ideology. They have also appealed to all the secular forces to support its nominee, Meera Kumar. Now, the former Lok Sabha Speaker has the backing of 17 non-NDA political parties. After being nominated as the opposition's candidate, Meera Kumar had also said the fight between different ideologies. Now, appealing for votes, she said that it would be in the best interest of the country. Meanwhile, Bihar Chief Minister and JDU Chief Nitish Kumar ruled out any change in his party stand on supporting the NDA's presidential pick Ram Nath Kovind. He attacked the Congress for propping up Bihar ki beti Meera Kumar as the opposition's candidate for a lost cause. He said the JDU took the decision after considering all aspects. However, both the RJD and JDU have said that their differences here will have no impact on the Grand Alliance government in Bihar. Meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party is also likely to make an announcement regarding its stand on the presidential candidate today. Now, Meera Kumar is likely to file her nomination papers on 27th of June. Remember, 28th of June is the last day for the nomination. On to some other news, the Enforcement Directorate has filed a charge sheet in a money laundering case against terror groups and separatists operating in Kashmir and Pakistan. Now, the ED named the likes of Hafiz Saeed, the chief of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, and the members of Hurriyat Conference, Hizbul Mujahideen and Dukhtaran-e-Milliyat under the Prevention of a Money Laundering Act. However, the ED did not take the names of any separatist leaders. Now, the ED will investigate the flow of funds through Hawala and other illegal channels for funding of separatists and terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, on 4th of June, the National Investigative Agency or the NIA had raided 33 locations at Srinagar, Delhi and Haryana in a crackdown on terror funding in Jammu and Kashmir. This came after some separatist leaders were caught on camera saying that they received funding from Lashkar-e-Toiba and other sources in Pakistan to fund stone pelters and violent protests against the government in Jammu and Kashmir. And a leading intergovernmental financial watchdog has slammed Pakistan for continued complicity in financing terrorist entities. At its meeting in Spain's Valencia, the Financial Action Task Force or FATF closely scrutinized Pakistan's record on terror financing. At the meet, FATF said that certain UN-designated terror groups in the country were receiving money due to lack of control by the Pakistani authorities. It is noteworthy that FATF is a Paris-based organization which sets standards for banks globally and promotes measures for combating money laundering and terrorist financing. A report on Pakistan's complicity in terror financing was discussed at the FATF plenary, the group's highest decision-making body that took place from 18th to 23rd of June. The scathing remarks come just 2 years after Pakistan was removed from a blacklist that imposed enhanced surveillance on the country's financial system. Now, the issue will be discussed at the organization's Asia-Pacific Group annual meeting in July. Big story coming in from Jammu and Kashmir, where a senior police officer was murdered by a mob in Srinagar on Thursday night. The incident took place when a DSP Mohammad Ayub Pandit was on patrol duty outside a mosque in plain clothes. The incident has triggered widespread condemnation from political parties.
Two people were arrested on Friday in connection with the lynching of a police officer in Srinagar on Thursday night. Deputy Superintendent of Police Mohammad Ayub Pandit was stripped naked and stoned to death by an irate mob near Jamia Masjid in Nauhata area while on duty. This after he allegedly opened fire at a group of people who had caught him clicking pictures. According to police officials, Pandit was posted at the access control of the mosque to prevent any untoward incident ahead of night-long prayers on the occasion of Shab-e-Qadr when he was attacked. Pandit's body was recovered on Friday morning from outside the mosque. 3 people were also injured in the incident.
लोगों की हिफाजत के लिए डीएसपी साहब को एक्सेस कंट्रोल के लिए मस्जिद में लगाया था ताकि कोई गलत अनासर लोगों को डिस्टर्ब ना करे, लेकिन उन्हीं में से कुछ लोगों ने जो उनको बचाने वाला था उसको शहीद किया और लिंच किया। बहुत अफसोस की बात है। इंसानियत और हैवानियत में फ़र्क बहुत कम हो गया और अच्छाई और बुराई में लोगों को समझना चाहिए हमारे लिए अच्छा क्या है, बुरा क्या है।
Political parties too have condemned the attack. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti described the incident as shameful, and leader of the opposition National Conference Party Omar Abdullah said the manner of the DSP's death was a travesty.
एक शख्स जो लोगों की हिफाजत के लिए अपना फर्ज अंजाम दे रहा है, उसको इस तरह से मारपीट करके उसको मार देना, इससे बड़ा शर्मनाक वाक़या कोई हो नहीं सकता है। और खासकर ये जो डीएसपी साहब थे, इन्होंने ये सोचा कि ये इनका अपना इलाका है, इसलिए इन्होंने बड़े दिन की वजह से जो इनके पास अपने सिक्योरिटी के लोग थे उनको बोला कि वो चले जाएं अपने घरों में शब खाने के लिए। तो इससे ज्यादा भरोसे का खून क्या हो सकता है।
Police has also claimed to have identified a third suspect in the incident. Restrictions were imposed on the movement of people in 7 police station areas across Srinagar as a precautionary measure. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now an update on the situation in Darjeeling, where all 45 members of the Gorkha Janmukti Morcha or the GJM have resigned from the Gorkha Land Territorial Administration or the GTA on Friday. Now, the members have forwarded their resignations to the Principal Secretary of a GTA. The move comes after an all-party meeting that was convened on 20th of June, where it was decided that the Morcha will withdraw themselves from the tripartite GTA accord. Meanwhile, GJM supporters also organized a protest march demanding a separate state. Meanwhile, the Calcutta High Court directed that notice be served on the GJM chief Bimal Gurung by all means possible in a PIL challenging the indefinite Bandh. The Hills town is witnessing an indefinite strike since 12th of June this year.
खलान का आंदोलन के लिए अभी सभी पार्टी का अपील भी था। अलायंस पार्टनर जो भी हम लोग का अपोजिशन जितना भी हम लोग का पार्टी था, अलायंस आगे था, सभी अपील किया था कि जीटे को त्याग देना होगा। तो आज हम लोग सभी मिलकर सभी सभासद जितना भी आया है और जो भी नहीं आया है, सब ने लेटर अभी दिया है कि जीटे का औदा से सभी रेजिग्नेशन करके आज से एक साधारण सदस्य होकर अपना लड़ाई में आगे जाके जो है करना करेंगे।
We want Gorkhaland. This is the slogan we have been hearing all around. So now we want to prove a sincerity, and that is why General Party have come to the street now, and one and only demand that we have in our mind is that to achieve Gorkhaland.
And the Indian Space Research Organization or ISRO on Friday successfully launched 31 satellites, 29 of them belonging to other countries, through a Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle or the PSLV. The 40th flight PSLV launched the 712-kilogram Cartosat 2 series satellite for Earth observation along with 30 co-passenger satellites.
In yet another historic achievement for India, the Indian Space Research Organisation on Friday successfully launched 31 satellites. The satellites included the Eye in the Sky Cartosat-2 series satellite, 29 foreign and an Indian nano-satellite.
The mission has been successful and it has put all the satellites into orbit.
The 40th flight of the 44.4-meter tall PSLV C-38 rocket injected all of them into orbit from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota at 9:29 a.m.
With each PSLV launch, we are trying to improve our capability in one new area, like multiple restarts, multiple orbits, and different capabilities we are building. So with this, I'm very sure PSLV will continue to be the demanded vehicle for going into low Earth orbits.
The Cartosat-2 series satellite for Earth observation weighs 712 kgs, while the 30 co-passenger nano-satellites together weigh about 243 kgs. The co-passenger satellites comprise 29 nano-satellites belonging to 14 other countries. The 6th Cartosat-2 is a remote sensing satellite. It's the third Indian Earth observation satellite for India in space and will provide spot-specific pictures in high resolution.
So you should not always be going by only total weight, because the different missions have different complexity, and for performing that you need to consume certain resources on the launch vehicle. So in this mission we have some additional activities which will be demonstrating certain capabilities for future activities.
In a series of tweets, President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised ISRO for its success. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And let's get you some more national news now in Nationwide. Jat protesters on Friday blocked railway tracks in Rajasthan seeking OBC quota reservation for the community belonging to Dholpur and Bharatpur districts. Jat leader Vishwendra Singh stated that if the government was willing to provide reservation, it should be given in writing. Earlier on Thursday, the OBC Commission had submitted its report to Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje. The district administration, however, is trying to convince the protesters to lift the blockade. The Punjab Assembly on Friday passed a bill to enable hotels, restaurants and other notified places near highways in the state to supply liquor. However, restriction on opening of liquor vents within 500 meters of highways will remain as part of the directions of the Supreme Court that were issued in December last year. And the CBSE on Friday declared results for the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test or NEET for admission to MBBS and PDS courses. Navdeep Singh from Punjab scored the top rank with 697 marks out of 700. As many as 11.3 lakh students appeared for NEET, out of which over 6.11 lakh have passed. 8 transgenders also appeared for the test. In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Rai and you're watching Law of the Land.
Jammu and Kashmir does have a special status.
Data should be available for all states.
We are not touching the jurisdictions of the Jammu and Kashmir Collection of Statistics Act.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
And the big story coming in from Pakistan, where multiple blasts killed at least 27 people and wounded 120 others in 2 Pakistani cities on the last Friday of Ramadan. Officials say the death toll could rise. Now, twin blasts first tore through a market in Parachinar, capital of Kurram district, mainly Shia area of Pakistan's tribal belt. The blasts were detonated as the market was crowded with the shoppers preparing for the Eid ul-Fitr festival, marking the end of Ramadan. No group claimed responsibility for the Parachinar blasts. The twin blasts in Parachinar followed a bombing earlier in the day in southwestern Quetta, capital of the Balochistan province, which killed at least 13 people. It was claimed by both the local affiliate of the Islamic State and by Jamaat ul-Ahrar, an offshoot of the Pakistani Taliban. Now, violence also hit the city of Karachi, where at least 4 policemen were reported to have been shot and killed on Friday evening. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif called for security to be increased across the country as he condemned the attack, saying that no Muslim could ever imagine committing such horrific act. And news from London, where more than 800 homes from 5 publicly owned apartment towers were evacuated because of fire safety concerns. Now, people in 5 towers on the estate are being moved for urgent fire safety works after an inspection found them to be unsafe. Now, safety concerns in the residential buildings are a top of mind in London following the devastating Grenfell Tower fire that killed 79 people in a West London high-rise last week. The residents of thousands of tower blocks around the Britain had expressed concern and outrage after commonly used building materials were blamed for rapidly spreading blaze that destroyed the Grenfell Tower. Now, Camden Council in North London, which announced the evacuation, is the first local government to take the dynamic step of emptying its buildings so that it can upgrade the safety measures.
What I will tell you is that local authority would not make a decision like this lightly. They thought about it long and hard. They decided constituents weren't safe, which is why they've made a decision to evacuate people overnight. I realise it's disruptive to people's lives, but constituent safety comes first. If it's not safe, then people need to go.
What we found was that while the insulation was safe, the external cladding was not up to the standard that we wanted and was not fire retardant. Obviously, this was very disappointing. We shared that news with our residents. I know it's difficult, but Grenfell changes everything, and I just don't believe we can take any risk with our resident safety, and I have to put them first.
And more news from Britain, where EU citizens living in Britain have branded Theresa May's offer to guarantee their rights post-Brexit as pathetic. Now, they were responding to Prime Minister May's offer of guaranteeing their rights to stay in the UK. Remember, May has termed her offer as very fair and very serious. EU leaders have been cautious in responding to her offer, only saying that it is a good start.
The European Union has called UK Prime Minister Theresa May's offer to guarantee the rights of its compatriots as vague. However, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has described UK's plans as a good start. But Merkel also said there were many other questions about Brexit and there was still a lot to do.
We want to ensure the full rights for EU and UK citizens after Brexit. My first impression is that the UK's offer is below our expectations and that it risks worsening the situation of citizens. But it will be for our negotiating team to analyse the offer line by line once we receive it on paper.
Aufenthalt die Menschen in Großbritannien auch legal ihnen die Möglichkeit gibt zu bleiben. Das war ein guter Anfang, aber auch noch nicht der Durchbruch, um es mal vorsichtig zu sagen. Das heißt, wir haben uns wieder darauf verständigt. Wir wollen das alles in gutem.
Theresa May maintains that her offer to fellow EU leaders was very fair and very serious. May outlined 5 principles on Thursday, most notable of them being that no EU resident in Britain at a cut-off date would be deported.
I want to reassure all those EU citizens who are in the UK, who've made their lives and homes in the UK, that no one will have to leave. We won't be seeing families split apart. This is a fair and serious offer. And I want to give those EU citizens in the UK certainty about the future of their lives. But I also want to see that certainty given to UK citizens who are living in the European Union.
May's proposal says those EU citizens who have lived in Britain for 5 years could stay for life. Those there for less than 5 would be allowed to stay until they reach the 5-year threshold for settled status. Those who qualify for settled status will be allowed to stay in the country and access health, education and other benefits. The plan would affect 3.2 million EU citizens living in the UK, around 1 million of whom have lived in the country less than 5 years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from the Middle East now, and 4 Arab states that have isolated the country of Qatar have handed a list of 13 demands that they say that Qatar has to accept within 10 days or it risks the continuation of their embargo. Now, the demands include shutting down their broadcaster Al Jazeera that the Qatar has already ruled out.
Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries have sent a list of demands to Qatar that they said must be met if it wants the trade and diplomatic embargo to end. The 13-point list provided by Kuwait, which is mediating the crisis, insists that Qatar should cut back diplomatic ties and end joint military cooperation with Iran. Further, it needs to end ties with terrorist organizations and shut down its broadcaster Al Jazeera. Also on the list is a demand to end Turkey's military presence. Qatar is also being told to stop neutralized citizens from the 4 countries, stop meddling in their internal affairs and expel their citizens currently in the country. It has also been asked to stop funding news outlets including Arbi 21 and Middle East Eye. If Qatar complies, it will be audited once a month for the first year and then once a quarter in the second year, after which monitoring will take place once a year for 10 years. Qatar has 10 days to comply before the list becomes invalid. Earlier this month, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates and Bahrain broke ties with Qatar over allegations that it funds terrorism, a claim that Qatar denies. Qatar has not responded, but the list includes conditions it has already said will never be met, including shutting down Al Jazeera. Further, Qatar has refused to negotiate till the blockade is lifted. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from the world of badminton. Indian shuttler K. Srikanth entered the semi-final of the men's singles at the Australian Open Super Series badminton tournament. The world number 22, Srikanth, defeated compatriot Sai Praneeth in straight sets 25-23, 21-17. He is now the lone Indian remaining in the tournament and will next face 4th seed Yue Shi of China. Meanwhile, it was curtains for the women shuttlers as both PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal were knocked out of the tournament after a tough quarter-final battle. Now, Sindhu lost to world number 1 Tai Tzu Ying of China 21-10, 20-22, 16-21, while Saina Nehwal was ousted by 6th seed Sun Yu in 3 games 17-21, 21-10, 21-17. And in cricket, the first ODI between India and the West Indies at the port of Spain was washed out on Friday. Now put into bat first, Indian opener Shikhar Dhawan continued his superb form as he hit another half-century, falling just 13 runs short of his 11th ODI ton. Now his partner Ajinkya Rahane also scored a 50 as the opening pair put on 132 runs. Now, captain Virat Kohli was on 32 not out and MS Dhoni on 9. When rain interrupted the play with India on 199 for 3 in the 40th over. Now with no result in the first match, the 5-match series remains level at 0-all. The second ODI will be played on Sunday at the same venue. That's all in this edition of news, but news and updates continue on Rajya Sabha television. Thanks for your time.